So welcome to the BloodHound workshop. So this is our first NinjaTrader 8 workshop here, the first official workshop. All right, so this question here came from Scott. All right, so we have a nice chart here kind of marked up with the explanations of, I think this is more of a trend identification type of system here. So first thing we're looking for is two different EMAs here to cross over, and that's kind of what we're seeing here in BloodHound on this screenshot right now is, when the faster EMA is on top of the slower EMA, we're getting this long output here. But we also want to add a couple of confirmation conditions here. So we're looking for a one higher high, so one higher high wick, above a previous bar, and then I guess we're looking for a second higher high, above the previous bar. And let's see what. Oh yeah, and then also we're looking for the stochastics, a Fast Stochastics to touch and basically dip below 25, for a long setup there. Or we're looking for the stochastics to hit the 75 level, in a short situation here. All right, so basically that's the setup there, and we'll get started. This oil chart here. First, though, let's see. Yeah, this is using minute bars here, so that might make a difference. So let's switch to minute bars. All right. So give me a moment here to kind of get all the indicators I need on my chart. All right. First thing I need are a couple of EMAs. All right. So our faster EMA is going to be a 7 period. I'll make that white, and then our slower EMA is a 13 period, and I'll just leave that this golden rod. And let me make these a little thicker. All right, there's our EMAs. Actually, let's make this slower one a different color so it doesn't look like the bars. Let's just make it red. And then also I need a Fast Stochastics, I believe. Yeah, Fast Stochastics. All right, let's go find that. And let's see, our stochastics is a 3 and 5. And we are going to be using the D line. So let's make this, the K line, transparent. And let's make that a little thicker as well. All right, and then also let's set our lines here. Yeah, so we're looking for a 25 and a 75 line. And then lastly, let's get BloodHound on here. So it's kind of neat. I like this new feature here of NinjaTrader 8 where you can developers can group all their indicators together inside of folders down here. So you'll notice that there's a shark indicators folder at the top. And also you'll notice I have a bunch of LizardTrader indicators installed as well. So I should have all the same LizardTrader indicators in Ninja 8 that I had in Ninja 7 here. So you can see LizardTrader makes a bunch of free indicators for Ninja 8. If you have a Futures IO account, you may be familiar with the ANA indicators. So for Ninja 7, all the indicator names were AN, Alpha, Nancy, Alpha, ANA. But for NinjaTrader 8, they're AMA, Alpha, Mary, Alpha. So you change the name there, so it's kind of nice. being able to know, which NinjaTrader version indicator you have there. All right, so let's get that closed here, and let's get BloodHound on the chart. We're ready to start building in BloodHound here now. So first thing you want to do is put a file name in here, right? So this is just a blank template here. So first thing we want to do is we'll hit the change, and we'll put in a file name. So I'm just going to go with our naming convention for the workshops here. So we'll put in today's date. There we go. All right, one more day left in this month. And save it. There we go. So we have a named BloodHound system here now. And I always like to start working on the logic tab here inside the logic board. So let's get this open. And we want to have to start by hitting new to create a new logic template here. So let's see here. What am I going to call this? I guess an EMA crossover. Let's see, with higher highs or lower lows, basically confirmation there. All right, so once we have a logic template name here, then we can start building here. Okay, so the first thing we're looking for are these EMAs to cross over here. And, looking at the system rules here, yeah, we're not really looking for a crossover per se. We're just, we're looking for the faster EMA, right, to be above or below the slower EMA. And the reason why we're not really tied to the crossover is because when we're looking for these higher highs, for the next two higher highs, there is no requirement of them occurring within so many bars of the crossover. So in other words, these higher highs don't have to happen like in the next 5 bars or something. It's just whenever they happen, as long as the EMAs are crossed in the right direction, that's what matters. Yeah. So instead of using a crossover, we will use a comparison solver here, such as what Scott has done. So let's grab a comparison here. All right, we'll give this some kind of a name. So we're comparing the EMA 7 to the EMA 13. So we'll put the EMA 7 inside the input A section here. All right, so let's go find the EMA. There's our EMA. Hit the add new button and change the period to 7. All right, so the EMA only has one plot, so that's already selected for us, so we're good to go there. All right, there's our EMA. Now input B down here, down below, we'll switch that over to the EMA 13. There's our EMA, hit add new, and change it to the 13 period, like so. All right, and there we go. Now we can see on the chart whenever the white line is above the red line, right? The faster EMA above the slower EMA, or we'll get a short output, vice versa here, right? So let's see. Oh yeah, you guys might have noticed this little message down here. Basically, I just need to refresh my chart in order for BloodHound to be able to recognize, I put my licensing information in. So, but yeah, I'll refresh the chart later on. Don't have to do that now. Okay, so there's the first requirement. So let's see here. All right, so let's start looking for these higher highs. Yeah, so that is going to be some comparison solvers as well here. So let's grab another comparison solver. Let's plug it in there. Let's see. So this comparison solver, it'll be looking for higher highs or kind of lower lows here. So for that, you know, what we're analyzing is price, right? The price of the bar. So we're going to set input A to price, and we'll also set input B to price as well. All right, so for a long setup, we're looking at the highs of the bar. So we're going to set this to the high price. And for a short setup, we're going to be using the low price of the bar. So there we go. I have those set up. We're going to do the same down here. So remember, we're comparing the high of the current bar to the high of the previous bar. So that's why input B is going to be high and low prices as well. Now input B, we want that to be the previous bar, right? One bar back. So we're going to use a look back period, set that to 2. And then the look back process, we're just going to leave it on single value. So we just want to find the the value of the high price value, the low price value, looking back 1 bar. So, and let's take a look at the chart here. Let's stretch this out. So yeah, we can see whenever, let's get an arrow on the chart here. And I can tell it's going to be a little bit of a process here, getting my NinjaTrader 8 to have the same kind of look and feel as Ninja 7 here, especially with all my little drawing tools. All right, let's save that as my default there. Okay, so all right, and hold on a sec. I thought I had taken that snap mode off. There we go. Yeah, so we can see whenever I guess you could say the current bar, whenever its high is higher than the previous bar's high, we're getting a long output. And if the low becomes lower than the previous bar's low, right, we'll get a short output there. So, all right. And of course, it will be possible from time to time that a bar will both have a higher high and a lower low, right? In which case you'll get a long and a short output at the same time. So if both conditions are true, then you'll get a long and a short output at the same time. All right, so anyways, yeah, so we know this is working here. And we need to find 2 of these, basically. Yeah, we need to find 2 of these in a row here. So kind of going back to our screenshot here. So we're looking for a first confirmation bar of a higher high. And then we're also looking for a second confirmation bar of a higher high. So to do that, the easiest way would be to use a signal counter here. We'll grab the signal counter and let's see, count up to, we're looking for 2. We're looking for 2 higher highs or lower lows. And we also need a look back period. So, with computers, you do have to set some kind of limitations to the computer. So, we will need to kind of determine, how many bars do we want to allow the second higher high to be found in here. And so, let's set something kind of high here. I imagine probably the second higher high probably has to be done within somewhere between 10 and 15 bars, right? If we're not getting any new higher highs, then probably the EMAs are going to cross back over, in the opposite direction. If too many bars go by. So yeah, maybe I'll just set it to a nice round number of 10 here. And we'll just see if 10 works out for us. We'll have to do some testing and see if 10 works out. Let's see here. The resets. Let's turn the resets off. Let's see. Yeah, we will need to use the reset here. Because if we look at this, basically, if we look at what's coming out of the signal counter, let's see. Yeah, another thing I like to do is change the output style to digital, like so, because that's kind of what people like to see is a cleaner digital kind of look here, where either the output is on or off, and get rid of the fuzzy logic here. Now, so if we look at the output here from our signal counter, all we see are just long outputs and short outputs, right? Just continuous long and short outputs. So, what is that telling us? It doesn't seem like it's really finding that second higher high. Well, actually it is. It's constantly finding that second higher high or that second lower low within this 10-bar look back. Remember, on each bar, right, the signal counter, on each bar, the signal counter gets to look back 10 bars. So if we start, let's see, if we start here, let's kind of start here, right? And so if we look back 10 bars, well, there's definitely 2 higher highs and 2 lower lows looking back to over 10 bars. And if we go forward to the next bar, again, looking back 10 bars, there's definitely 2 higher highs and 2 lower lows. If we step forward again, looking back 10 bars, right? So, definitely this 10-bar look back period seems to be providing, plenty of time to find those higher highs and lower lows. Every once in a while, such as here, and let's grab an arrow. So every once in a while, as we're looking back 10 bars, sometimes we won't find a higher high, right? And so therefore, there's no long output on these 2 bars because during our 10-bar look back period, there is no higher high being found, right? So it does happen for occasionally here, but what's more important to the system is we want to start looking for the higher highs from the crossover point, right from that crossover point. So that is what the resets are for, right? So you'll notice that there's a reset connector here. And that's what these reset connectors are for, is to kind of be able to design a starting point here. And so what we'll use is this comparison solver here. So we can see, let's see here. So we can use basically, yeah, we'll play around with this and kind of figure out. So what I'm kind of thinking is, you know, can we use the short output here, right? So we're getting this short output when the EMAs are crossed in the wrong direction here. So I'm wondering if we can use that. But we'll kind of play around with this, right? I mean, that's kind of one of the beauties of BloodHound is you don't have to get everything right the first time. You know, you can kind of experiment with it until you get the results that you're looking for here. So basically I have my comparison solver connected into the reset. Now I need to select the signal counter and open up these resets. And now I can start playing with the resets here to figure out which one I need. And so the one I'm going to try first is, let's open this up a little bit here, is I'm going to try the reset opposite signal and make sure that's working for us. And yes, that does appear to be working, right? So remember, this is our first bar of our crossover, right? So the crossover actually happens on this, somewhere in between this bar and this bar here. But this is the actual bar after the crossover, and it does have a higher high, and then we have a second bar that also has a higher high. And right, the signal counter is marking a green here, identifying our second higher high there. So that looks good so far. And let's take a look back here. Well, actually, let's take a look. This cross down here. So this is the first bar of the EMAs crossing down, and it does have a lower low, but all the bars afterwards do not have a lower low, so we never got a short output confirming two lower lows, right? So that looks good so far. No short output. That looks good. So let's go back here when the EMAs cross up. So here's our first bar after the cross up, and we have one higher high, right? So there you go. This is a higher high from the previous. Next bar, nope, that's a lower high, so it doesn't count. But the next bar has a higher high from the previous bar. So there's our second higher high there. And we're getting a long output, right? Confirming the second higher high after the crossover. So far, so good. So let's see here. Let me, I'm going to take this signal counter and I'm going to rename it here. And we'll call it the second higher high or lower low, right? That is what basically the signal counter is finding for us. And we're almost done there. So we basically have our three requirements here. So if we go back to our screenshot, right, requirement number one is to make sure that EMAs are crossed up or crossed down. Then second requirement is to look for the first higher high. Third requirement is looking for the second higher high. Right, so this is our EMAs being crossed up or crossed down, and then this signal counter You know, this is finding condition 2 and 3, right? Condition 2 and 3. So so now we can take an AND node, connect that in, and then connect our signal counter in, and we should be most of the way there, except for our stochastics. So let's take a look, and we'll do some confirmation here. Yeah, so this would be the first bar after the EMAs crossed down, and it made a lower low. And then here's the second bar, made a lower low. All right, so that looks good. And let's check this EMA cross up here. Yeah, so this is the first bar after the cross up. It has a higher high. And then here's our second bar with a higher high. All right, and there you go. And the EMAs are still crossed up. Yeah, so that looks good. And let's see, there's this one. Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. EMAs crossed down. And so actually this is the first, let's see, is this the first bar? Yes, this is the first bar of the cross down, but it actually has equal lows. The lows are of equal price. So here's the first lower low and then the second lower low. Yeah, there we go. So far so good. All right, so next step will be to add the stochastics. Let me just pause for a moment here and take a look at the chat window, see if there's any questions that might have come in so far on this here. Oh, yeah, here we go. So Jeff is asking, so what if you wanted to find two higher highs in a row? Yeah, if you want to find two higher highs in a row here, yeah, let's go back here. Yes, so two higher highs in a row. You still could use the signal counter, and you could just set your look back period. There, let's adjust the output here. We can set our look back period to 2, like so. And yeah, let me disconnect the reset as well. Actually, let's connect that back in there. And yeah, so there we go. So there's our first higher high and our second higher high. So you could use a signal counter and just set your period to 2 and your count up to 2. But the signal counter, it's a little more involved in setting that up. A simpler solution would be to use the look back node instead. That'd be a lot easier to set up. There's less settings with the look back node here. So with the look back node, let's set the displacement to 0, and then our look back period is going to be 2, and then our look back node is minimum. So we want a minimum of 2 there. So this would be the easiest way to use a look back node, to find 2 higher highs in a row, like so, or 2 lower lows in a row. All right, so look back node, remember, set your displacement to 0, look back to 2, and your look back mode to minimum there. And you could say, there you go. So it's looking for 2 in a row. basically it's two of anything connected to the input. Two in a row of anything connected to the input, whether it's two long outputs or two short outputs in a row connected to the input. So, all right, so there we go. There's Jeff's question. Let's see what else we have. Mark would like to make sure that the EMAs have a certain amount of separation, a certain distance separation between the two EMAs. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like just a simple separation distance between the two EMAs here. Yeah, so if you did want to have a separation distance, let's see here. Let me get this kind of cleaned back up. So let's get our comparison solver plugged in here again. All right, so here's our comparison solver, right, with our two EMAs. Yeah, so if you wanted a separation distance between the EMAs, that's what the differences section is for, right? So we have a large amount and a short amount difference, right? If you're going to use BloodHound's fuzzy logic. So, but simply put, let's say we wanted a 1-tick separation between the EMAs. We could put in a 1-tick separation, and we can see it makes a huge difference here, right? So basically, this cross down, the EMAs never generated a 1-tick separation between the two EMA lines there. All right, and then let me grab my arrow again. So as soon as we do get a 1-tick separation between the two EMAs, right? So let's see. Let's grab a line here. So this distance, this vertical distance, that's what we're talking about. And I guess, it's time to set my color for the line here. Just a sec. All right. So that white line there, we want the length of that vertical line to be 1 tick. Yeah, so there you go. So that's how you could incorporate a distance. It doesn't have to be a whole number. We could do like half a tick. We could say, well, the EMAs only need to be half a tick of separation from each other. Something like that. Yeah, and then we can see when the EMAs cross down, just on that one bar, they finally had half a tick of separation on the cross down there. All right. So let's see, whose was that? Mark's. There you go. Yeah. So Mark, there you go. If you want an EMA distance, or an EMA, basically, if you want a distance separation between, right, your input A and your input B, whatever that may be, right? You could, right? So in this case, it's an indicator, but if you're using price, so let's kind of go back to this other comparison solver where we're comparing the high to the high. If you wanted to make sure that the higher high had a minimum of X number of ticks higher, you could put in a distance here. So let's say we wanted the higher high to be at least 2 ticks higher than the previous bar's high. Then we could just put in 2 ticks, like so. And so now, yeah, if we look at our higher high and lower low, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So basically this bar, let's see, it was probably exactly 2 ticks higher. So, but it wasn't greater than 2 ticks, right? So I put 2 ticks. So the separation has to be greater than 2 ticks. Keep in mind, if you look at the description here, so for the long output, if you look at the description, it's A greater than B, right? There's no equal sign in there. It's not A greater than or equal to B. It's A greater than B, or right, and A greater than B. So there's no equal in there. So in other words, since I put 2 ticks, the distances between the highs has to be greater than 2 ticks. In other words, like 2.1 ticks or something like that. So if you are looking for a 2 tick or greater, you could do something like this. Just put in like 1.9, something like that, 1.9. And there we go. So now this bar, right, this high is 2 ticks higher, and so now this bar is considered a higher high, having a 2 tick separation with that difference in there. So, all right. So anyways, let's set this back to 0. All right, set that back to 0, and we're just about done here. Yeah, so the next part, the stochastics requirement, actually isn't on this screenshot here. All right, so the second screenshot shows us, right, that we're looking for the Fast Stochastics to touch the 25 level, for basically a long setup, right? So this can identify and get pullbacks here for a long setup, or touching the 75, for a short condition, basically a pullback for a short condition. And so it kind of sounds like, so Scott, I'm not sure exactly which is supposed to come first, the stochastic kind of pullback, or is it the EMA crossover condition comes first here? To me, it's kind of sounding like you're looking for the stochastic first, but you wrote the stochastic second, so I would think that the stochastic comes after the trend direction confirmation. But yeah, if you want to just kind of give me a little confirm here for me, Scott, whether the stochastic should come first or whether the EMA trend direction should come first. That's kind of helpful here. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that answer, we can get this all built here. Yeah. Oh, and so also, what's also wanted, which is not a part, was not a part of the screenshot, is that what we've built so far is basically a kind of a trend direction confirmation, and so instead of just seeing a couple of long signals here and there and a couple of short signals here and there, we want to hold on to the direction of these here. So we want to turn basically these signals into a trend direction there. So to do that, we're going to add a toggle node. And with the toggle node, basically, there we go. So we have basically a direction kind of confirmation here. So once we get our first kind of short confirmation, then we just hold on to that direction with the toggle node. And right, so we get this continuous short output telling us, right, we're basically in a downtrend until we get our first uptrend confirmation, and then we hold on to that, right? So remember, when these EMAs cross down, so back in here, remember when these EMAs crossed down, we didn't get the second lower low, so this did not turn into a short a short trend. So this just stayed in a long trend, after this bar here. So, all right. So that's basically kind of the last component here, was throwing in our toggle node to hold on to the trend, after we get a confirmation from the rest of the system here. All right, so that's that. And next, let's look for the stochastic setup there. So what we're looking for is a threshold solver, right? So we're looking for the Fast Stochastics to touch the 25 threshold level or exceed the 75 threshold level there. Right, so let's connect that in like so. All right, so this is a Fast Stochastics, and we're looking for a 25 or 75 thresholds. So let's put in our Fast Stochastics first. And let's see, our settings are 3 and 5. And the stochastics has 2 plots here. So we want to make sure that we have the D plot selected here, because that's what we're using, is the D plot. All right, next we're going to put in our threshold levels. So threshold levels have to be put in descending order. So we're going to put 75 in first, then we'll put 25 in down here, and I'm putting it in twice to get rid of that fuzzy logic, right? And so with C, we're left with C at 0, which is lower than any value here. Remember, they have to be in descending order. So for C, I'll just pick a number in the middle, somewhere in the middle, and so 50, right? I'll go with 50 there. And then next, we need to set our outputs. So, yeah, so remember, for a long output, we're looking for that 25 level or less. And for a short output, we're looking for greater than 75 here. So, like that. There. All right, so there we go. And now, according to the other screenshot, you know, this touch here is good for the next 5 bars. So actually, I'm assuming that it's going to be 5 bars from the touch, not from when the stochastic leaves the 25 level. So from the touch, that's what the arrows are pointing at. So actually, we're going to do this a little differently here, because we need, yeah, according to the screenshot, you know, we're counting 5 bars, you know, from the first time the stochastic crosses the 25 level. 5 bars from there. Yeah, so we're going to need to do this a little differently, actually, than using a threshold solver. So I'm going to just throw that off to the side. And instead, I'm going to use a crossover. So this is going to be looking for the Fast Stochastics crossing over 25. So let's see here. Input A, that's going to be our indicator. So let's go find the stochastics. There it is. Again, let's change our period settings here. Again, we're looking at the D plot. You know, input B, that's going to be our 25 level, right? So that's going to be a fixed value there. And so we'll put in the 25 threshold there. And there we go, right? So now we can see whenever the stochastic is crossing that 25 level. But remember, we want, let me grab an arrow. So when that stochastic crosses down the 25, right, that's a long setup condition. So we don't want a short output, we want a long output. So to do that, we can go to our outputs and reverse our outputs here. So instead of crosses in direction, we'll set that turn that off, and crosses against direction, we'll turn that on. And there, we can see that it effectively kind of reverses the outputs there, right? So this cross down is now generating a long, and the cross up is now generating a short. And let's see, we're not interested in the cross up, right? We're not interested in a short right there when the stochastic crosses up. We're interested in a short when the stochastic crosses up across the 75 level. So we want to get rid of this short output here. And to do that, we can use the evaluate. So we can set the solver to only show us long outputs here, or evaluate the long outputs here. There we go. So there's every time that stochastic right crosses that 75, or I'm sorry, 25 level. Now we can take this and now extend that, and I'm going to use a signal extender. I could use a look back to extend that forward 5 bars, but I'm going to use a signal extender. And let's see, I'll explain why in just a moment here. And let's see here. And with the signal extender, we want to extend the signal for 5 bars. So there we go. So there we go. So every time the stochastic crosses that 25 level, we have a signal for 5 bars. Actually, it's 5 bars past, so let's set that down to 4. There we go. So there we go. 5 bars. Like so. All right, so we need another one of these crossover solvers so that we can find when the stochastic, crosses 75 for that short kind of setup there, for that short setup. So let's make another one of these crossover solvers here. So let's grab another crossover. I'll just put it down here. Let's connect it up. And let's name this here. All right. And so since this one is looking to cross the 75 level, we're only interested in the short output here. So we'll set our evaluate to short only. All right, so now input A, that's our Fast Stochastics. And let's change our period here to 5. Okay. And input B, again, we're going to use a fixed value so we can put in that 75 level there. And, if we look at this, it's identifying the cross downs, but we want to identify the cross up. So again, we've got to remember to change our output here. There. Right, there it is. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these crossover solvers and join them together with an OR node, because they basically act as one, they act as one condition. So if I look at the OR node, right, coming out of the OR node, I get both the long and the short outputs here, right? So there we go. So basically, instead of having 2 nodes, I now have one node with both combined outputs there. So now I can connect that OR node into the signal extender, like so. There. And so now let me kind of explain why I'm using the signal extender. Let's see if I can find an example here. Yep, here we go. Here's an example. So you'll notice right here, we have a long and a short output here. And just a moment while I set my colors up for this. All right, so there we go. If we look at BloodHound's output here, right, we have a long and a short at the same time, right, because the stochastic basically crossed 75 and then crossed 25 very quickly in less than that 5-bar period here. So if you wanted to say like this, so when this fast stochastic crossed up and generated the short output, right? Well, let's say if the stochastic crossing the 25 level, if that is like negates the stochastic crossing 75, right? Then we don't want a long and a short output at the same time, right? We want the short output to disappear, because when the stochastic crossed the 25 level, right, that basically invalidates the stochastic crossing the 75 level, right? It invalidates that 5-bar period. So the signal counter would allow us to do that here. I'm sorry, the signal extender allows us to do that. And the way I can do that is, oh, no, don't want that one. Input opposite signal. Input opposite signal. There we go. So I can take the input opposite signal, reset, right? So in the resets, input opposite signal. And now if we look at this, right, so we get short, 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 and then the stochastic crosses 25, and so we only have 3 short outputs, and the others have been reset or turned off when the long condition sets itself up. So that's why I wanted to use the signal extenders, because I could turn the shorts off here. And yeah, actually the same thing happened over here as well. So yeah, that's why I use the signal extender. And let's see, let's give this a name here. So this is basically a 5-bar extender, like so. All right, so we have basically our stochastic component kind of created here. So let me see if Scott had gotten back to me. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Thank you, John. Yeah, so John is asking if the actual long signal should be when it crosses 25 to center. No, not according to how Scott wrote the rules here. So I'm just going according to how Scott wrote this question here. So again, what's being built in these workshops is exactly how you guys are asking the questions here. So I don't make these rules up. Actually, nothing in these workshops are made up by me. These all come from you guys. And so, yeah, so it sounds like a couple of you guys in the room somewhat seem familiar or heard of this before, maybe. So I see some of you guys are kind of offering up suggestions or something here. But according to the way this question was written, it's looking for just the stochastics crossing down and touching the 25 or passing through the 25 level. So just as the arrows indicate there. That's why screenshots are so great when you guys have questions. You know, screenshots can really kind of help fill in a lot of missing detailed information there sometimes. So, all right, let me see what other questions might be in here. Let's see here. Oh, Rick is asking, why do you change the K value to 5? Because that's what I was told. So again, I just go according to your guys' questions here. So, you know, the question that was asked was using a Stochastics Fast with a 3 and 5 setting. So why that was changed to 5, I can't say. So I'm just going according to how the question was written there. Yeah, Neil, I see you offering up some suggestions there, but I don't want to modify the way Scott wrote his question there. You know, if you guys, yeah, after I'm done building this exactly the way Scott asked it, then I'll look at your guys' comments and questions in here, and we can basically make a copy of this and then kind of tweak it, you know, to however you guys would like. So afterwards, so once we're kind of done here. So let's see here. All right, well, I guess since Scott's not answering here, and let's see. Oh no, let's see. Yeah, Scott's still in the room. Okay. But I guess I'm just gonna have to make some assumptions here and assume that our stochastic pullback is going to come after the trend has been identified here. All right, so let's kind of summarize here. So coming from our toggle node, we basically kind of have a trend filter here. Let's shrink this chart up a little bit. Yeah, so there we go. So we kind of have a trend direction filter here. You know, coming from the first part of the logic that we built, and then it's kind of looking like the this stochastic kind of pullback logic here might be identifying the kind of the entry points into this once the trend has been directed here. So last step would be to combine the two components together here. So we'll plug in the trend, basically. You know, if we wanted to, we could take this toggle node and rename it the trend. So we know that basically kind of trend signals are coming out of the toggle node here. And then I could connect in the signal extender here, like so. And basically that identifies, I'm guessing, what would be kind of like, you know, potential entry points. All right. And, you know, so we can see that we do have, you know, sometimes we get a bunch of signals in a row. I don't know. Maybe that might be good because you might want to see how long the, you know, the potential entry points might be lasting. But if you wanted a cleaner look, you know, what we could do is we could use a signal blocker, and this signal blocker will clean things up for us. All right, there we go. So with the signal blocker, we'll get the first signal, and then the other, you know, kind of continuous entry point signals are blocked. So there you go. It's kind of, you know, two ways of looking at it. You know, if you want more information, you know, you can look at it this way. And if you want a simpler look, you could use the signal blocker. And let's see, the signal blocker, I should adjust some of these resets here. Let's see, the reset signal, we're not using the reset connector here. Let's zoom in here. Right, so you see the reset connector on the node here. We're not using that, so I can turn off the reset signal. And yeah, just leave the input opposite signal. Yeah, I'll leave that to true. All right, so that is it. All right, so that's the first one done. Okay, so it looks like we're looking for pullbacks in price, basically a couple of down bars. So for a long setup, we're looking for a couple of down bars here. But the first main requirements is the trend direction, which is set by, right, the slower moving average here. We can see the solid line. That's setting the trend direction. And then the dotted moving average is the faster one. And so we're looking for the bars to close below it, but no more than 5 ticks below the moving average. So that's important there. No more than 5 ticks below the moving average. And then we can see the arrows are on the reversal bar. Right? So we need this pullback in price to pull back below the faster moving average, but no more than 5 ticks below it. And then the signal is on the reversal bar back in the trend direction. Right, so that basically is the question, is how to set this up in BloodHound. All right, so give me a moment here, and I need to find a couple of spots on my chart where this occurs. Yeah, oh, and one other thing, yeah, you can see, we can see that, this is using a Renko type bar here. I'm pretty sure it's probably Indicator Smart Renko bar. So I'm just using our Pro Renko bar as a substitute here. All right, so before I get started here, I need to find a couple examples on my chart of the trade setups here. All right, so I've got a 5-tick high square here that I use for measuring. So I'm looking for a pullback, but it can't exceed this 5-tick distance here. All right, the signals from the old system is it's a little confusing there. So there we go. I got rid of the old signals there. Shoot, I thought that was going to be one, but it's not. Oh, here we go. Found one. All right. So there we go. That would be one of them. That would be a setup there. So let's take a closer look at it here. So we have, right, the main trend moving average sloping up. We have the faster one here, right? So the dashed white line is the faster one. And what we're looking for is little pullbacks like this. And so the close of the bar must not exceed, the close of the bar must be less than 5 ticks from our faster moving average here. So if I use my little measuring box there, I can see that the close is within 5 ticks of that faster moving average, right? Again, which is the dashed line here. And then we're looking for the reversal bar again. So there we go. There is our setup right there. So now something like this doesn't work because the close of this bar is more than 5 ticks away from our moving average, right? So as my little measuring box shows, this close of this bar is below my little 5-tick measuring box. So this doesn't count as a setup here because the pullback was basically, the pullback was too far away from our faster moving average. It pulled back too far away. So this is what we're looking for. Okay, so let's get BloodHound back open. And let's go over to our logic tab here. And let's see here. What should I call this? 5-tick max Renko pullback, something like that. All right, so let's take care of the kind of the trend filter here, which is just looking at the slope of the slower moving average. Right, that's an easier thing to do. So we're just going to grab a slope solver right here. Let's connect that in. Let me name this here. So, all right, so the actual moving average and period were not given to me, so I'm just going to substitute. I think I used a SMA 50. Yes, an SMA 50. All right. So let's adjust our indicator here. Like so. And there we go. Great. SMA sloping up. We're in a long trend. So we have a long filter here. SMA sloping down. Then we get a short output, for a downtrend filter. Okay, so that was the easy part. All right, so now let's do the measuring here. Right, so we want to find these pullbacks, basically a bar direction that's opposite of the trend. So yeah, let's just find opposite bar directions here. So we can grab a bar direction. And since these are Renko bars, right, there's no such thing as a doji. So since these are Renko bars, the bars are always going to have a direction. We can simply use the invert here, invert output. Now, if this were tick bars, volume bars, minute bars, the invert wouldn't work because sometimes you might have a doji, which has no direction to it. So therefore, the invert would not work. But with Renko bars, this invert does work for reversing stuff. So I can simply do that. Makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, if I was using some other kind of bar type other than Renko bars, to reverse the bar direction, I would need to use the long-short modifier here. So, okay, so there we go. So we have some down bars, right? And they're marked green, right? We have a long output from these down bars now, because remember, this is looking for a pullback bar as a part of a long setup here. So there we go. So I've got the down bars identified. And if I wanted to, I could rename this here. There you go. I could now call this like pullback bars if I wanted to. Probably better to call it Renko pullback bars, just in case. And all right, next step is measuring this 5-tick distance here. We definitely need a comparison solver, right? And so we can use this difference to measure that pullback. Now this is going to be a little trickier because usually this difference kind of measurement here is for measuring things such as 5 ticks or more or 5 ticks or less, not kind of within this 5-tick area here. So it's going to take a combination of solvers here. So let's see, what is this? So I'm going to check to see if the close of the bar is within 5 ticks of our SMA 14, right? So again, our faster moving average, I just picked an SMA 14 since we don't really know what it is. All right, and let's see, input A, price. All right, so again, we're comparing the closing price to our faster moving average. So that's our SMA 14. And we're looking for a 5-tick distance, right? Now, if you'll notice, right, we're getting a long output here whenever the close is 5 ticks above our faster moving average. So that's not what we want. So let's turn all these outputs off. So what we're going to start with is this A equals B here. So now we've identified when the close of the bar is within 5 ticks, but it could be 5 ticks above or 5 ticks below. But so now we need to kind of isolate when the close is below our moving average. So for example, this bar here, right? The close is above that moving average, but we're not looking for that. We're looking for, we want to make sure that the pullback bar does close below the moving average, not above it, right? So again, this output here, it says A equals B within, and you'll notice that sometimes it'll still say 0 ticks even though you have 5 ticks put in here, right? So if it still says 0 ticks, what you can do is click off, click back on, and then that forces this text to update. So there you go. You can say it says A equals B within 5 ticks. We have that both for long and short, within 5 ticks, right? So within 5 ticks means 5 ticks above the SMA or 5 ticks below the SMA. So we need to filter out this 5 ticks above here for a long situation and filter out the 5 ticks below for a short situation here. So let's filter out this bar and this bar. Right. So that will take another comparison solver. And again, so input A, that will be the closing price of the bar. Again, input B is our SMA 14, that's our faster moving average. And this time, for our outputs here, I'm going to set them all to 0 again. Turn them off. So for a long, remember, for a long setup, we're looking for the close to be less than the SMA. In other words, A needs to be less than B, right? So this closing price needs to be below or less than the SMA 14, right? So we're looking for an output on this bar, but not when it's above or greater. So we want to make sure that that close is not above or greater than our SMA. So I'm going to use this output down here, like so. And your short outputs are almost always the opposite of your long outputs. You know, I'd say 99% of the time your short output is always opposite whatever your long output is. So once you kind of figure out what your long output should be, just, you know, use the opposite for your short output. And there we go. So here we have a long output when the close of the bar is below our SMA, and a long output, a short output, if the bar closes above it. Okay, so these two together basically create this this 5-tick window this 5-tick window here distance. So what we need to do is take these and connect them together like that. So now let's take a look at this and see if we're getting what we want. And yes. So there you go. This pullback bar is giving us a long output. And so is this one. It's giving us a long output. See this one over here? It's too far away, right? It's more than 5 ticks from our SMA. And so there's no output. Great. This bar here just barely closed above the SMA. So if we were in a short trend, right, this would be like the pullback bar that would qualify. So remember, we're just looking at the individual pullback bars output. We're not looking at the entire system yet. So this is just identifying a proper pullback bar, right? So remember, this would be a proper pullback bar. This one is not because it's too far away from that SMA. So no output. That's what we want. This one has an output because it's within that 5-tick range below the SMA. And okay, so everything looks good so far. So now we need to connect the other parts of this system up, into this here. So depending on how you like to do this, all of these could just be connected into the same AND node if you like. If you'd like to just take the easy route. But if you like things to kind of look nice and centrally organized, then we could do something like this, like that. So you don't need to have 2 AND nodes in this situation. So whenever you have one AND node going into another, it's basically the same as having one AND node. So all 4 solvers could be connected into the same AND node. So, right. So the only real reason why you'd want to do this is just to kind of keep the visual look of everything. As us humans understand things, visually, this kind of makes sense visually. Because it kind of separates things up, compartmentalizes things for us. And like this AND node here, I could name this here as the 5-tick. This is the 5-tick pullback bar there. There we go. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so we have the pullback. Basically, the pullbacks identified, right? The proper pullbacks here. So, right, this first bar qualified, but of course the continuation of the pullback did not qualify anymore. So there's no output signal here. All right, so now the last thing we're looking for, where my signal arrow is the reversal bar. That's the last component that we're looking for here, is this reversal bar. Okay, so we need to get this signal here, the signal of the pullback, we need to get it moved over 1 bar for the reversal bar to happen. So, let's see here. Let's name this AND node here. There we go. That's our pullback signal. Well, actually, no. Let's see here. Now, hold on. Let me scrap that naming this yet. A little too early. So let's see. We're going to grab a look back node. And this look back, as we can see in the chart, right, it took the pullback signal and moved it forward 1 bar, right? Took this pullback signal and moved it forward 1 bar, so that we now have the pullback on the reversal bar as well. And now the last thing we need to do is identify this reversal bar. So that would be a inflection. That's an inflection there. And we're looking for an inflection of price. So we're going to change our input to price. And so now we can see, right, on all these reversal bars, we're getting a signal here on all these reversal bars here. All right. So let's name this here. And we're going to need another AND node. Like that. There we go. So this AND node is the actual signal. So let's take a look. There we go. Let me zoom in here. So there we go. And let's take a look at the chart. So yeah, there we go. So we had, yep, two pullbacks with the reversal afterwards. Great. Let's see if there's anything forward on the chart. No. Let's go backwards here. Okay. Grab my little pointer. All right. Yeah. So the slower moving average, our trend direction is down, and we're just looking for this. Let's see here. What do we get? Yeah. So we got a reversal bar that made the pullback, and then a signal bar afterwards. It's great. And again, there we go. So our moving average is just ever so slightly sloping down. And yeah, we had a pullback bar and then a reversal in the other direction. Let's see if we have any others here. Yeah, we have a couple of others. So great. A little pullback and then a reversal bar. And again, a little pullback and a reversal bar. So, all right. That kind of does it. That's the basics of it right there. Yeah, let's take a look at that screenshot again. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah, there is one more requirement here. Yeah, let's see. All right, so the color of the bar has to be the same as the trend direction, but also has to be touching. Yeah, also has to be touching here. Yeah, it looks like it's always touching. But just in case, maybe sometimes that reversal bar doesn't touch. Yeah, it looks like it always touches. But, you know, since that is a part of the rules, there must be some cases where maybe the reversal bar doesn't actually touch the slower moving average. So let's add that in here. All right, so make sure that the bar is touching, right? For basically a reversal up bar, we just need to make sure that the low of the bar, right, either equals our fast moving average or is below it, right? Equals or is below it, to make sure that the bar is touching, right, our fast moving average. So let's open this up. Okay, so we'll grab another comparison solver. And again, we're going to be comparing the low price of the bar to the faster moving average. All right, so let's give this a name here. All right, so let's see here. Settings we need. All right, input A, that needs to be price. And so for a long, right, for this long pullback and reversal, for a long bar, this long reversal bar, we're looking at the low of the bar, right? So as long as that low is below our moving average or equals it, then we know the bar is touching. So for long, we're going to use the low price of the bar. And for shorts, we're going to use the high price of the bar. No distance requirements. And for our outputs, right, so in other words, the low could equal the SMA. So A could equal B or below it, like so. And we'll just reverse them for the short outputs. There. All right. So basically, as long as the low of the bar equals the SMA or is below it, we should see a long output, right? And so we get that. So even here, so even on this reversal bar, see how the wick just barely goes below the SMA? And we got a long output from BloodHound there. So good. That's all we really kind of care about, is where the long outputs are, you know, for the long setups. So we can ignore the short outputs, right? Because the short outputs will get ignored because, remember, we're in this long trend here, right? So, and simply put, we just connect that right into this last ando, like so. There. All right. Let's just take one last look here at the directions. Yeah, and so again here, the color or the slope of the smaller price band or moving average doesn't matter here. So, all right. So we don't need any kind of, basically it's the same. We don't need to look at the slope of our faster moving average. Doesn't matter. Okay. So there we go. That is it. So simply put, we're just looking for tails on these Renko bars, or wicks on these Renko bars here. Also, assuming here, correct me if I'm wrong, David. Let's see. Yeah, David's still in the room. Good. That this tail trader is filtered using the same slower moving average. Right. I take it that when you're identifying these tails, you also want to use the same slower moving average as your trend filter there. Or no, it's just standalone. Okay. Easy enough. All right, so let's start a new logic template here. And let's just call it signals here, because it's not a trader. BloodHound's not a trader. It's just a signal generator. We're just looking for tails, so we're comparing price to price, right? So what is a tail? A Renko, basically a tail means that you have a low below the open price, or you have a high price, above the open or above the close, right? Depending on how exactly you're looking at wicks. Let's take a look at this little section right here. Let's see. In the email, it was suggested looking for 3 tick long tails. So yeah, we'll stick with 3 ticks here. There we go. Let me grab my little measuring box. Okay, so now I have a 3 tick high box. So that one doesn't count. There we go. So this one counts. So that one, obviously that one counts. And this one and that one will definitely count. There. Okay. So I've got a couple of bars marked here to help me out. And that one, this one probably is a 2-tick tail, and that's going to be a 1-tick tail. So those are excluded. All right. So with Renko bars, you know, this is going to be really pretty easy here. So let's call this a 3-tick tail. All right. So let's set our inputs to price. All right. Inputs both to price. Now we just need to figure out what prices are we looking at. Okay, so for these up bars, we're looking at the low. So input A, we'll set that to the low price. And then for the shorts, we're going to be looking at the opposite. We'll be looking at the high price. And we're comparing from the open of the bar, right? So let's set input B to the open price. There you go, open price. Open price. And next we need to get our output set correctly, right? So basically for a long, the low is always going to be less than the open, right? So again, we're going to use A. Remember, A represents the low price of the bar, right? So A is going to be less than B, and B is the open price of the bar, right? So the low of the bar is going to be less than the open of the bar. Makes sense. So there we go. So, and let's put in our distances here. So remember, these are A less than B, not A less or equal to B, but less than only. So in our distances, we're going to put 2.9, right? Just shy of 3 ticks, like so. Let's get our distances in there. And there we go. And so what we're looking for, right, down here, remember, is BloodHound's output here. Remember, we're looking for the output part here so far, right? So there you go. So I have 2 long outputs on these 2 bars that I marked with an arrow. And if we go to this bar a little further back, right, there's our long output for that bar and our long output for the other green arrow, right? So, right, there's no long output when the wicks are too short. So now the next step is let's filter out this short output, right? We need to filter this short output, and that would simply be just a bar direction, right? We can grab a bar direction. If we connect that in, right, with the bar direction, we can see there's no short output, right? No short output anymore. And so now, you guys are probably catching on by now, we need an AND node in here somewhere, right? So, yeah, you know, these AND nodes do a lot of work in system design. And yeah, there we go. Well, let's kind of take a look back here. There we go, a down bar, nice long wick. Wick is too short. There we go, 3-tick wick. Get a signal. There you go, up bar. That looks like it's probably just barely a 3-tick wick. There you go, nice long wick there. 3-tick wick, maybe 4-tick wick. There you go, that's definitely barely a 3-tick wick there. Right, short wick, no signal, short wick, no signal. Again, short wick, no signal, no wick, no wick. There you go, about a 4-tick wick there. All right, so there we have it. That was our last question there. And so these signals here will be used in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop to kind of wrap up Blackbird here. And let me just reread the question again. I just want to make sure I'm not missing some minor detail for tomorrow's workshop. Yeah, so I guess, so David, I will need some kind of clarifications for Blackbird, you know, such as When you're getting these signals, are you just entering on a market, or are you wanting to use a limit order for the pullback, or are you using this stop limit entry order to get in? Are you using a stop limit entry to get in? So your question about, how do you set a stop limit order? I'm sorry, a stop limit offset. What type of stop is that? Is that a stop entry or a stop loss? Right? There's two different types of stop orders. There's one that you can use for an entry, or one that you can use for a stop loss. So I just kind of need that, if you want to just email that in for tomorrow, or if you're going to be here tomorrow, you just kind of write it in the chat window there and kind of let me know what your question is about there. So let's see. All right, so stop entry. Okay, so I assume that once you get the signal, you're looking to place a stop entry there. All right. Well, tomorrow is the Blackbird workshop, so you guys are all welcome to attend, whether you have Blackbird or not. Right. If not, then have a good weekend, guys, and I hope to see you guys next week.